You're on. Mr. Banana, you ready though? Is he ready though? Okay, you get the green light.
Well, welcome everybody to the panel, Bringing 3D Sonic to 32X. I'm SSNTails, this is Saxman, and we'll get to our sort of backgrounds here in a second. So, just really quick, our story, kind of who we are and things that we've done in the past. We actually worked together a long time ago on a Doom mod called Sonic Doom 2, and back in 1997 and 1998. And after that, we kind of, we've got the notes here from the next time. So for me, I worked with Sonic on Sonic Robo Blast 2 starting in 1998, so I stopped working with him and I went to work with Sonic. He's over in the UK, so he couldn't make it today, obviously. So it was a follow-up to his own fan game, Sonic Robo Blast, which was this little like one-screen click and play project. If you haven't tried it, by today's standards, it's extremely, extremely bad. But back then, it was a complete game from start to finish, which most fan games weren't at the time. So what we ended up doing is, because of my experience doing Doom mods, we moved his project to be essentially a Doom mod, and I didn't even know how to code at the time, but I figured, hey, I'll figure it out. How hard can it be, right? So we used Doom Legacy as our code base and started from there. And then I worked on it for the next 10 years or so until 2009, which is when I retired from the project and handed it off to another group of folks I knew who they're actually continuing to this day.
All right, I'm Saxman, and after Sonic Doom 2, long story short, I found myself tinkering around ROMs and modifying Sonic 2 mainly, and some other Sonic games in there as well. But I did that for many, many years and documented tons of stuff that I was finding. I pretty much took over my life for a while.
He sent me by postal mail his very first findings from changing different bytes in the ROM and figuring out what certain addresses and stuff did.
Yeah, and there was nothing like it online at the time, so it was kind of just new territory. But that's what I did for till about 2004, and then in 2005, I started writing a game engine. I called it ProSonic because I felt, well, we've pretty much exhausted what you can do in a ROM, outside of assembly. But I think what people want is to make a game that feels and plays like a Sonic game. So I created ProSonic, and after not finishing that due to scope creep, thanks Saxman, I took a break and then did this Sonic Boom engine. It was based on the disassemblies that people have put out for Sonic 2. So I got some 32X experience from that. And then on the ProSonic side, I also got some 68000 programming experience because of some backwards compatibility I put into that. So.
And during this time, what was like 2001-ish, we kind of went our separate ways, lost contact. Quite a while. Yeah, so it wasn't until 2023, Retro World Expo, that we reunited, essentially. That's our reunion panel. And
Knuckles guys in it.
What's that?
Handsome Knuckle cosplayer.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know who that is.
So yeah, we had a whole bunch of oldies join us. We did a panel on research and history for Sonic games, and so at that point we started staying in contact again. And it was just let's see, May of 2024. I must have been on a Doom website or something, and I found out about the homebrew port of Doom on the 32X. And I was just thinking, well, if we have code now for Doom on the 32X, and SRV2 is based on Doom engine, I wonder how much of this I could get ported to the 32X. Wouldn't that be really cool? And Saxman actually has the old screenshot of me on Discord sending him a message being like, hey, I just got an idea. Wouldn't this be neat to just try? Or I thought it would be a trip, as it says here. Because I had seen some YouTube videos previously of folks taking assets from SRV2 and trying to put them into the original 32X Doom, because you had a tool that you built that allowed you to modify the WAD file in the the commercial version of 32X. It's
Right, yeah, I made the tool, it converts the 32X WAD to PC version, the format. You can modify it in that format and then convert it back and put it into the original ROM and play with your modifications.
you want to do the hard work. That's your
Sure.
arena.
Well, that's a picture of the 32X getting ready to hug the Genesis.
Mommy, what are these two machines doing?
Yeah, I thought about putting that ad in there. Decided to keep it local. So I'm just going to review the hardware a little bit at a very high level. The Genesis has two processors, a 16-bit 68,000 processor, and then 8-bit coprocessor, the Z80, which is primarily used for sound in games. But the 68,000 does everything else. The VDP, the visual display processor, is basically your video card of the day. Had 64 kilobytes of VRAM, and then some other vertical scroll RAM and color RAM. But this machine was pretty dated by 1994, and only 64 kilobytes of main RAM. So, can't really do anything crazy like 3D. And then these two sound chips there.
Stay tuned till tomorrow to find out more about that.
Yeah.
It's your FM panel.
So when they came out with 32X, I think of it as a superset of hardware, because everything that the Genesis has in it you can still use with the 32X game, but it adds two 32-bit processors at 3 times the clock of the 68,000. With 256 kilobytes of RAM compared to that dinky 64, so that sounds like a lot, but it's not.
It's at least something better.
It's something. And then the nice thing about the 32X, I think, is really the color, which is the Super VDP. It gives you. It's also limited on RAM, but it's nice 15-bit color like the SNES could do. And then a PWM channel chip for samples. So anyway, the strengths, I kind of already said this, the strengths of the 32X is obviously the 32-bit processors, fast, many more colors, but it's still connected to a 16-bit bus on the Genesis side. So when you're trying to read the cartridge, it's really freaking slow. And that causes a lot of problems for developing, especially when you don't have but 256 kilobytes of RAM to store things in. So sometimes you have to touch the cartridge, and you hope you don't have to go there very often. And the Super VDP, oh my gosh, that thing's slow. it's extremely difficult to get 60 frames per second out of the 32X if you're trying to cover the entire screen with graphics every frame. So a lot of games ran at 30. All right.
So here's some little views on our early development. You see we got the old, we still have the Doom graphic there for Hurt Me Plenty. Oh, this is video. Okay, I got you.
Oh.
I forgot it was a video.
Oh, there you go.
Just let the screen
Early
go.
footage.
So this is essentially Doom, but just with assets replaced. And kind of a fun little tidbit is that even in the current PC version of SRV2, the AI used by these blue enemies is the same as the possessed troopers in the original Doom. The way they move everything. So it was really easy, like, oh, I can just change the graphics and then pretty much done with that part. But you can see like the way the movement of the sprite, it isn't based on how fast you're going. Doom just animates it at a constant rate. And of course, there's a lot of other glitches and stuff you can see here. I think that's about as...
Yeah, I think this video might be pretty long, too.
Yeah, okay. But it kind of gives you an idea of kind of the first things that we got to boot and actually see, like, oh, okay, there's something on the screen. So like here's an example of one of the things I tried first was rather than even loading in levels and stuff, let me just take the same assets from Doom Resurrection and can I add a chase camera to it? And so that's what you can see here in these screenshots. Does this have a video too? Yeah, it does. Yeah. So it's just the 32X Resurrection version of Doom, and I got a little camera to follow him around. So for player navigation, so a direct port of the PC controls was not an option nor desired, because when I originally made the controls for the PC version of the game, I didn't know what I was doing. So I just took, I identified the values in the source code that can move the Doom guy, and I'm like, well, what if I just make these numbers bigger? And then, then it's like, well, that's not totally working. Let me just, can I add and test the player's speed and then add and subtract different constants based on it? So what I had done in the years leading up to this, I just did some hobby experimentation of developing a good solid 3D movement for a Sonic in a full 3D type of environment. So I thought, well, I can take those controls and I'll backport them essentially back to Doom code, and it actually worked pretty well. So that's what I'm using now on the 32X version, and I think it works a lot better from a controller type of standpoint, because the PC one is very much like keyboard mouse WASD sort of play. That I never liked that setup, but a lot of other people do. So hey, yep. Or for multiplayer, it's good. But a couple of other challenges we had is that there's no analog stick on the 32X. There are some aftermarket controllers that I think had an analog option.
There's one in particular I know for sure had it. It's Japanese only and it has a weird name. I don't.
So good luck finding it. Essentially,
it's very expensive. You can find it on eBay, but it's very expensive. It usually has to be imported from Japan.
Yeah, and so just trying out the controls, I was like, well, you got to hold up all the time, pretty much, because you always usually want to go forward. What if we had that as a separate button on the right-hand side of the controller, so that you could just use the D-pad for essentially steering, like a racing game, like you're playing Mario Kart. And so that's what the gas pedal button is for. And so you have two different options of that. And personally, I find that works really well. Some people like it, some people don't. And we also didn't have a camera reset button. So instead, if you stay still for like a half second, I have the camera automatically move around to face behind you. So yeah, this is another early camera implementation. See stuff popping in and out. one of the other big things we had to do was restructure the data. So the Doom level data, it's set up to be very good to and easy to edit, but it occupies a lot of extra space that way. So you can see here the PC version of a Doom map would say take up 257 kilobytes, but after we reorganize it, we've got 96 kilobytes. And so that saves us a lot of space on the ROM, because on a 32X ROM you're limited to 4 megabytes unless you're doing some tricks with bank switching and stuff like that. So we try to get things as small as we can.
As I keep telling people, bank switching is not as easy as you think it is with this particular type of game because of the size of the assets.
Mm-hmm.
You have to keep a lot of things visible in memory. So we have to contend with space realistically.
So some other tricks we do, but it's more of like design rather than programming side of things, is we made the textures twice as small, because we're drawing at a lower resolution anyway, so you're probably not even noticing. And a lot of the animations are cut in half of the enemies and things like that, because on the PC version it's really excessive. Like they've got, for these blue enemies, the crawlers, they have, it's something like 16 frames just for the tread moving underneath them as they're moving around.
That little tiny,
yeah, the little tiny
thing
tread. It's like you're not
see.
going to even see the treads moving with this level of detail. So take out what we can.
You only have 2 now, right? 2?
No, I think maybe 3.
Okay. Well, it's a small number.
We reduced the resolution, the horizontal resolution of some of the sprites in half. Mostly scenery and items that aren't very important. But one thing we did focus on was making certain sprites render in full detail. So the player is one of those, bosses, power-ups, star posts, things that are really intended to like grab your attention, that are gameplay centric. And another thing we used to save space is we took apart the boss sprites. So when we first started, the boss was taking up, I want to say, at least half a meg for each boss, if not more than that.
Yeah, I think it was about a half meg. Yeah, it's crazy.
So then I thought back to the Genesis games, and I'm like, well, that used the pattern table with tiles, and they would have just this little single sprite for the Eggmobile, and then stick Eggman's sprites in it, and they were separate pieces.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah, so I said, well, what if I write a tool that'll, I just give it the picture of the Eggmobile and have it process the sprite and clip Eggman out and create a separate sprite for him. And that ended up knocking, I think 2 of the bosses together now, instead of being over a megabyte, it's like under a quarter meg. It's huge difference.
Huge difference.
And another thing we did for, well, this isn't for compression, but for speed, is we do some distance culling on some certain lines. There's a way we can mark it in the level to tell it, like, these aren't as important as other walls.
Well, so this is the sound driver. And we inherited this from Doom 32X Resurrection. Did we even tell them about Doom 32X Resurrection?
Yeah, we did.
Okay, good enough. So the way that this works, and I'm just going to do my thing. I have to, because it's just easier to point.
It's going to be a pain to edit and post.
So the VGM, we use VGMs for the music. The VGM player lives in the Z80 RAM, and what it does, with its little tiny amount of RAM that it has for VGM, it plays back the music and sends the various things, the data and such, to these 2 sound chips on the Genesis. But it runs out of music pretty fast, as you can imagine, with only 4 kilobytes of music. So from time to time, it has to call this code that it communicates back and forth with this code on the 68000, which has to pull from the cartridge, that slow thing that I mentioned, that So we can only grab, I think it's 256 or 512 bytes at a time. So we try to touch on it very little. And we keep adding that to this buffer, this 8 kilobyte buffer, because it's compressed. We have to decompress it into RAM. And then that gets copied back up, 4 kilobytes worth gets copied back up to here, as this is continuing to pull from the cartridge. And then to complicate matters, and this was my doing, the PWM, when we started, didn't have any, it plays drum samples in the game today, but it didn't when we started. So I re-engineered part of the VGM format to convert the actual drum samples inside of that to just drum cues. So it's just like, hey, play a snare, or hey, play a cymbal, or, you know. And so these, as it comes across a cue, it sends it to here, sends it to the sample player on the 32X side, which then feeds a sample out of the cartridge to the PWM. So that is my long-winded way of saying this thing lives on at least three processors across all memory. It's very convoluted, but.
And the VGM format that we use isn't even straight VGM. It has to go through you built a tool to strip it down essentially to just the commands that we need. Right,
yeah, as I was saying, I removed the samples from the VGM entirely and converted all those to just drum cues. And I may have done one or two other things, I can't remember, but.
I seem to remember like the VGM was inserting extra commands that we didn't need.
Oh yeah, there was a bunch of extra commands. I said, screw all this. And so I simplified it with just cues, and there's pan and volume things in there too, so.
So one of the other tricks we do that deviates from the PC version is how we implement the water. So I took inspiration from Team TNT's Boom engine, which is an old source port from 1998. It was pretty popular at the time, where you could create this sector outside of the map and set floor and ceiling heights, and then when this game went to render that area, it would pull the floor and height data from that, they call them control sectors, instead of the actual one you were in. So you would collide with the actual area geometry that was there, but it would display as if it was with these other properties. A couple other things we ended up doing that kind of go beyond what Boom did is we apply special gravity, physics, and stuff and game rules when you're under water, so you can drown, move slow, stuff like that. For the palettes, we generate those in real time on the 32X, which is pretty neat because we can actually pull from the full color range from the 32X as well. And we use the line table. I don't know if you can probably explain that better than I can.
Yeah, in a nutshell, the 32X, it uses frame buffers. It's not tiled like the Genesis, and then so what it's like opening up Paint on a Windows machine and just drawing pixels. It's literally like that. And at the beginning of that frame buffer is 256, really only 224 that we're using, numbers that correspond to each line of resolution in the image. And what that does, it is an offset for the line data. So at the first line of the screen, you can say, okay, grab the very first pixel in the top left corner, and then the next line, go down from there. And you can duplicate lines easily that way. You can stretch the screen, or you can shift it. And what we do with the wavy effect is I just shift the lines left and right. Of course, it's not shown there, but
Yeah. We didn't get to that part yet. This is just demonstrating some of the early sprite clipping and stuff I was working on. Because it's not that the plane, there's no Z buffer like in modern graphics with the way this is done. You actually have to determine where your player intersects with that water plane and then just stop drawing the sprite at that point. So this is something that you came up with for the new version, kind of.
Yeah.
Oh, no, this is
this is the old version.
Oh, this is the old one, okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's still, so Doom, usually in a Doom level, you can't see the bottom portion of the sky. It's usually covered by a wall, and there's a reason for that, because it does what is done on the left side of the screen there, where it just continues to wrap it. That looks ugly as sin. We don't want multiple islands in the background, so I don't remember how it came up with it, but basically...
Well, it was actually another way to save space, too, because we didn't have to store this blue on the top and the bottom. We could just store it, clip it all the way to the mountains and the sky.
That's right. And so, yeah, so we agreed that, okay, we could set a color for the top and a color for the bottom, and we would just draw the sky image one time in the middle of the screen and cover, you know. So that's what you're seeing with the blue and then the aqua, whatever color.
Yeah, so our first public release was December 24th of 2024. That was actually chosen on purpose, not to mess with people over Christmas, but
Sorry, Red Hot
Sonic. Sorry, Red Hot Sonic. But one of the first, like, where it actually seemed like it was a Sonic game that was released for SRB2 was back on December 24th of 1999. So I figured I'd do like a 25th anniversary kind of event with it. So that's what that was about. You want to put some?
Sure. So when we, honestly, I didn't, just speaking for me, I didn't expect, I just figured, oh, you know, some people think this cool, whatever. But when we released it, really got a huge response. Just video after video, comment after comment, and these are just kind of the things that people were saying, you know. Everyone wants us to do it on Saturn.
If anybody does Saturn programming and wants to port it, I will happily continue development on the Saturn of this. So just putting that out there now.
Said it once. But yeah, so I mean, we got an overwhelming majority of positive feedback. They noted 32X could do this, you know, you can read it all, but there were a little bit of criticism in there too. Everyone, thank universally about the frame rate. You know, I mean, it's 1990, it's budget 1994 hardware. It's not even state of the art for the time, but you know, we're doing the best we can, and we have improved it a little bit.
Yeah, I think by about 10%.
Yeah,
so like going from
10%.
9 to 10 frames a second might not be quite as noticeable as you want it to be, but it's there. So now let's move on to some of the new development and some of the more interesting stuff that we've really been, because it's been, you know, like we said, 9 months since the next release, and you know, we started from nothing essentially 6 months before we did our first release. So this is kind of like explaining, you know, why it's taking so long.
Yeah, and just a note real quick, that was, we changed the logo there, so so it says 32X, and the sky's different and everything, so.
Yeah, there were some people calling it Sonic Robo Blast 232X, and I was like, that's too many numbers. We gotta cut that down.
Okay, so we have this thing called copper. That's what we call it.
It comes from Amiga, right? I think that term.
Yeah. Is anyone familiar with the Amiga copper processor? You know what I'm talking about. So on Amigas, long story short, they don't have a lot of color memory to use. Most games were limited to 32 colors in memory, I believe. And so, but the Amiga was special in that it had a coprocessor called the copper, and it could manipulate the parameters of of video and sound. And one of the things that was commonly done is they would swap out colors, kind of like Sonic does with the water. You know, you draw halfway down and then here's the water and it swaps out all 64 colors for new 64 colors. So it makes it a water tint. Well, they did that kind of stuff a lot in Amiga. And the backgrounds in some of the games, I wish I had included some screenshots, but a lot of the backgrounds and things, they would have these nice the color each and every raster. So here, what we've done, well, we haven't done anything here. It's just, this is just a 32X layer. There's a background is supposed to be here, but there's no background color. We haven't filled the background in. If you go another one, okay, it's turned white. This is that white color there, 255. That's the through color, and it is different from all the other colors in the palette there. All the others are considered high priority colors. But it's a feature of the 32X. You can make it a low priority pixel, which means that the Genesis graphics, if they're available, will show up over top of it. So if you show that, there you go. Those graphics are drawn on the Genesis. So wherever they exist, they are over it. If you go one more, that's copper. That's taking that through color and changing its RGB values every single index. So I don't have to do anything else. This is more color than is even available than I could realistically do with that table to the left. So
Yeah, because you got the full 15-bit color range.
yeah, I have the full 15-bit color range. So each and every color can be a brand new, each and every line can be a brand new color. So we have slowly but surely incorporated that in just about all the levels, I think.
And we can offload just a little bit of work by having the Genesis do graphics for the background.
Yes, that's nice too. So the skies, as I told you earlier, the top and bottom have fill colors, right? What we've done recently, the graphic that used to be in the center, it's now, I call it a variable height bitmap, and basically each column of the image is a different height. So it doesn't have to draw the entire thing. You know, it's like...
It's kind of like the sprite data in Doom, isn't it?
Yes, a little bit. It's very similar. So it saves time drawing that, and instead we'll just rely on that fill color. Now right there, we have the scroll A layer on the Genesis. So I've put some of the graphics on there, and then scroll B. And the reason we split these up, I mean, yes, to save space in the ROM, but also because if you want, we can scroll them at different rates. So as your elevation continues up or continues down, they'll kind of do this thing. And then there's copper. That's what the sky currently looks like for pre-flower zone. So. And, okay, I'll take this too. I forgot what this was about. So, I don't want to be long-winded. Let me see if I can break this down. The Genesis is 320 pixels long, okay? Sky graphics in Doom, and likewise SRB2, are 256 pixels wide. And what Doom does, there's 4 sky graphics per 90 degrees. And it will draw all 4 of those sky panels all the way around for 360 degrees. But because Doom is 320 pixels like the Genesis, what it does a cylindrical type stretching effect. And so your 256 sky panel gets stretched to 320. Well, 32X or Genesis graphics don't stretch very well. because they're tiles, and the Genesis is old and had it. So, yeah, I think, so, yeah, so, right, I say it there, so.
So it causes problems, so you decided to use H32 against Sega's recommendations.
Yes, yes, so, yeah. So H32 is basically unsupported. Well, it is unsupported. It's basically incompatible because of its issues. The screen is offset a little bit, and I have found, I'll just show them the video. Well, let me just show you real quick. So that's the offset issue. If you look on the far left edge and the far right edge, you can see where the Genesis graphics continue on past the 32X on the left side, and you can see where the 32X graphics continue on past the Genesis on the right side. All right. Now this is what, and the issue that I'm alluding to, and you're going to see it, is the video is sometimes, because of the clocks, and Tito educated me a bunch on this, and I wish I could talk like him, but...
Wait, as in Macho Nacho Tito?
No, not that one. TME.
Oh, okay.
Otherwise, we just ask him to come up with it.
But anyway, so the one thing I found was, depending on the background color of the Genesis, it will mess with the video signal, and it hates orange, I found out. And go ahead and play the video, and you'll see what I mean. Yeah, so that's not really playable. I would never want to play that. So I had to figure that out, and I figured out if I set it all to black, a black background color on the Genesis side, that the issue doesn't seem to happen. Knock on wood, it won't ever happen again. So anyway, but H32, the reason we use it is because it's a convenience of math. It will naturally, H32 is 256 pixel resolution in the Genesis. So if you can imagine a 256 sky panel being drawn, it gets stretched to 320, just magically.
So I guess H32 would be good for if you're like porting a Nintendo game to the Genesis, then, because
yes,
the Nintendo uses a 256 horizontal resolution.
Yeah, the Genesis, that's a good flexibility it has. And then one more thing, if you were curious about it and wanted to fix your 32X to be more tolerant of H32, this little guy here is a trimming capacitor. You can use that to tune the signal.
Will it let me use orange?
What did orange do to it? It annoyed it.
That's fine, you said it black.
So-
Orange is the new black. So.
Another thing we did to save a lot of ROM space in the newer version is we replaced the compression method. So previously we were using the Jaguar Doom compression with, what was it, LZSS?
Well, I mean, it's all LZSS, but yeah, the Jaguar Doom compression, I don't know where it comes from, but it was used in the original port.
Yeah,
it's used in Resurrection too.
Yeah. So I found the original code from John Carmack for compressing data for the Jaguar Doom. So I
Yeah,
actually
that's right.
used that in our converter.
That's right, yeah.
So by switching that, we actually gained an extra 200 kilobytes of ROM space. So that's really cool. And what's funny is the compression we're using now is the same compression that was used in Sonic 2 for the level data.
Yeah, actually, a lot of Genesis games used it. We come to find out, but yeah, Sonic 2 used it, and its correct name is LZEXE, but it's got the nickname of Kaczynski, and that's a long story.
Check my YouTube channel for the recording of the other panel we did previous years. Go over that. Another thing we've been working on is floor over floor. So, of course, Doom doesn't have floor over floors. So there's a guy that I knew, his name was Strog on Meth. I mean, which is a Quake character. He later went on to do the Eternity Engine Doom source port, where actually the slopes from SRV2 also come from, funny enough. He had been working on it in Doom Legacy at the time. He essentially taught me how to program in C for the first couple years. It's really cool. I owe him a lot of debt of gratitude. But he actually shared the code of his prototype with me before it debuted in Doom Legacy. So actually, Sonic Robo Blast kind of beat Doom Legacy to the punch, even though it was intended for Doom Legacy initially. But the problem is that I can't just take that code from the PC version and put it into the 32X Doom, because 32X and Jaguar Doom use a completely different render pipeline from the PC. It's optimized for multiprocessor and also use very little amount of memory. And unfortunately, the PC version is very much lax with the way it uses memory, because you just have so much more on a personal computer than you do a console. So I've been kind of trying to reverse engineer and understand that better. So it's kind of a work in progress. One of the little workarounds for that is I came up with this way of swapping heights with 3D floors. So 3D floors, you define like this block, imagine like a floating block, like a question block in Mario. That would be considered 3D floor. I figured that if the water planes are opaque, so you can't see above or below them. So why not just treat them when rendering them as if that was the actual floor of that area, rather than like rendering some floor you're not going to see below it and then something on top. Just pretend that's the actual floor and submit it through the render pipeline. And for stuff that fits that criteria, we can actually pull that off without incurring a huge performance penalty like we would with having to draw on the same spot of the frame buffer twice. And here's just a picture of a couple of the new maps we've got. You can see it down at the booth we've got as well. Play them out, see what you think. So, you want to take the end goals?
Sure. So, at the end of all of this, we hope to port all the maps from the PC version to the extent that we can. Make it fully compatible with 32X hardware. It's compatible with it today, but that could change. So as we're developing it, we want to maintain that. And then, and this is kind of a little bit of what you've been doing is course correcting on SRV2.
Yeah, little things I'd like, I'd like to change that now that I have the opportunity to do it over again.
Yeah, so it doesn't play like Doom.
One thing that we ran into sometimes is we would be developing, and we forget to test on hardware, and it's like a month goes by, and then we try it on hardware, and it doesn't work anymore, and then we have to roll back and step and try to find out, okay, where did we change? What did we change to cause this to happen? So,
yeah, that's what happened with H32.
So while we still have some time, questions? Yes.
Are there any tweaks or improvements that you have or would like to backport to the PC version or other sources like Doom Resurrection?
I think the player control should definitely be ported to the PC version. At least make it an option. So I've got the source code up on GitHub, and I told the guys, hey, it's there. Go ahead, take it. So we'll see.
Cool.
Yes.
Oh yeah, can I ask, when you were talking about the floor stuff with the rendering, can that be why sometimes, because when I was playing the special stage, the first one, and the floor the big flowing item randomly shifted down for a couple frames?
Yeah. So that's one of the places where that's used, but unfortunately it's obvious there. But there's another stage on Techno Hill 1 where you fall through this shaft near the end. That's actually a 3D floor too that swaps the heights, but you can't tell because you're falling down that shaft, so you don't notice the change. So yeah, you have to be really selective with where you can use it. So eventually, I do want to use a true 3D floor in that special stage.
Oh, I was gonna ask, are you gonna replace it with the night stages?
I want to, yeah. I actually had to add some rotation code and stuff for the swinging maces in Castle Eggman, so I can use those to create the hoops in nights. So I'll give it a try and see how the performance goes. Yeah.
SSNTails. So I've been following this project since 1998.
No way.
Since I was 10 years old. Yeah.
That's cool.
And you mentioned earlier you retired in 2009.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious what brought you back. I know you were dabbling in like SRB2X and like a few other like fun little projects on the side for a few years.
Yeah, that was too ambitious.
Yeah, so creep. And then I know you said you kind of stumbled upon this in like 2024, but what sort of like scratched that itch for you again for like the first time in over 10 years that made you really want to kind of dive back into?
I think it's because I stopped piddling around with the other game development little side projects and things that I had been doing, and I like the idea of working on something where I had, because the problem with SRBX is that there's essentially no limits, because it's fully 3D, multi-directional. It's like, okay, where do you draw the line on how far you can go with things? And I really like the idea of like, oh, I've got a 1/4 meg RAM to work with. I've only got so much space. It's a good way of forcing you to stop at some point. and so now it's become more like, how can I creatively pare things down, still keep the essence, for lack of a better word, of the game and how it flows, but still stay within those performance and memory restrictions. So,
Fair.
And plus I got to work with him again, which was really awesome because I loved working with him back in the 90s. So, yeah.
Are there, to piggyback onto that if I may, obviously SRB2 on PC is still in active development.
Yeah.
There's very secretive work on, some remaking some stages.
Yeah, they're
that's going a little bit longer in the tooth, and I'm wondering if those goals are too ambitious to be eventually ported to SRB32X, if you're just sort of porting what is currently, the standard for SRB 2.2 and stopping, or if you're going to continue working on this when SRB 2.3 releases and maybe try and bring those stages as well.
From what I've seen of the 2.3 stages so far, I don't think that's going to really be an option because they're kind of going kind of crazy. And they're also changing.
Tower of Power?
What?
Not even with the Tower of Power?
Not even with the Tower.
I know with the Saturn even.
Yeah, I don't think it would be good for the Saturn.
That's fair. I was just curious.
Yeah.
Wait, how much RAM does the Sega CD have?
It has a 1/2 meg RAM, but the problem is 32X can't access that RAM very easily.
Okay.
It has to ask the Genesis and then the Genesis has to read it from the Sega CD, buffer it in its own memory, and then pass it to the It's really...
It's inconvenient.
So many.
And it's slow RAM.
Wait, so why did they make CD32X games?
They only made like 10.
And they were all like NVIDIA, right?
Yeah, the guy who did Doom 32X, when he made Fusion, he actually created a ROQ video player. And I've got a video on my YouTube channel. I've put the Sonic CD video, intro video on the ROQ player. And so the 32X is actually playing the Sonic Jam version of the Sonic CD intro on the Tower of Power. So
I'll just add that the Sega CD, the hardware is convenient for video. So, the 6 officially released Sega CD 32X games obviously are all FMV because it works very well for that. So plus 15-bit color versus 9-bit color is just amazing.
yes, sorry.
Okay, so it's fine. How are you going to port stages like Castle Eggman 2 and like Egg Rock? Because those are huge and like I have no clue how the game's gonna handle it with all that and like. So
Egg Rock 1, that was actually a stage that I made. It's still in the game. It doesn't have any slopes. Agrok 2 doesn't have any slopes either because they didn't update it for 2.2. I mean, significantly anyway. I've started on Agrok 1. I've made pretty good progress. I don't have it loading yet. A lot of these stages I can't test them until I get them really pared down to fit, and then I can start, actually getting it to see what it looks like. For Castle Eggman 2, I've started on that as well, and I've got some ideas on certain areas. Pretty much, I think what I'm gonna have to do is I'm gonna have to remove, a lot of these stages have little windows cut out where you can see other parts of the map from other areas, and I think just putting a solid wall there instead is gonna be the answer to a lot of that. But plus a lot of culling, a lot of distance culling.
Also, when are we getting Marble Garden 1 and Death Egg 2 for Sonic Doom 2? We've been waiting. We've been waiting for
Hey,
over a decade.
in the 2013 re-release, I included the missing launch base map.
Yeah. Now we wait for another 10 years for like the new version that has the.
Well, maybe when I'm done with this, I'll port it to the 32X.
Okay, buddy. Okay.
Then we'll finish it.
You fixed my mistake on the Carnival Night boss.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or there's a key missing,
Okay.
and then you can't open a door on the second.
Yeah, I don't remember what happened there, but I remember finishing the map, but for some reason,
It could have been that, like, just accidentally flubbed the delete key, and the mouse happened to be over the.
yeah.
Yes.
So if I'm following the story correctly, it seems like the existence of Doom source code is kind of the thing that unlocked this project.
Yeah, kind of. And I heard saw that the performance was pretty good on Doom 32X Resurrection, because I knew this was going to run slower and be more demanding. Just okay, how much more demanding?
So that I think there's Doom source code for multiple other platforms, right? Are you guys interested?
Yeah, the one for Jaguar is available too, but that's
for
an
Super
even less
Nintendo.
powered machine. So,
Oh, Jaguar is less powerful than 32X.
oh yeah,
Wow.
quite a bit.
But are you guys interested in other platforms right now or in the future?
I'm trying to think of
I
what
know you
other
mentioned
platform
that.
would be suitable. Like I said, I'd prefer to do Sega Saturn. I lean on him for all the Genesis and 32X programming, and we're using an existing port that already has all the infrastructure for loading and showing up on the 32X. If we had something like that for Saturn, I mean, it'd be great to get the extra 5 megahertz and CPU power, and I wouldn't expect the port to change very much content-wise. Maybe we could make the stages a little bit bigger and stuff would run a little bit better. But yes.
Would porting to Saturn really help that much with the frame rate? Like you said, 75 megahertz faster.
Yeah, I don't know what the VDP performance would be like for something like that.
So I know the VDP on the Saturn is faster with its access, and obviously the processors are a little bit faster. And honestly, I think just my opinion without having played with it, I think that the fact that it has 2 megabytes of RAM versus our little dinky quarter of a megabyte would make the biggest difference. So I think that it would run much better.
Although the only caveat to that is we would probably use like 1.5 meg for preloading assets from the CD because we don't have a cartridge to stream from in real time.
Oh,
Well, you could do that though. You could go that route. That you can have.
We can do a RAM cart, but I don't want to require people to have RAM carts.
Well, I guess what I'm saying is the same thing that CD32X Fusion does, requiring the CD and cartridge, can be done on the Saturn, and there are a few games that did that.
So you don't need a RAM card. It could be a cartridge in that slot.
Theoretically, from everything I've read, you could have a
Nobody's
pure
tried it.
cartridge Saturn game.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think there was one game that I played like that on the cartridge. It was it like
Were there any,
Sentai? It was, I forget.
were there any troubles you faced with getting it running on Kega Fusion? Because I know the 32X emulation isn't that great over there.
It actually ran the best on Kega Fusion initially.
Huh.
Yeah.
I would say probably even now it still runs the best as far as performance, but or maybe
It's not very
Eco
hardware
Drive.
accurate.
Yeah, it's not accurate, and especially with the latest version work that we've done, I've noticed a number of incompatibility things, like the copper stuff that doesn't work at all on Kega. So we have just one solid color background on Kega. H32 looks great until you pick the wrong background color, and then it looks like a disaster. So I've learned to pick the right background color. And
One of the cool things you did though is you created an emulator detector
yes.
on boot.
Yeah, I put an emulation detector in the game, so it will, there are little checks in the code to do certain things differently. If it's running Kega, you know, just do the one color. If it's gens, I don't know why bother, but
I used to use Gen way too much, so I wish I didn't.
But you essentially detect by performing some sort of action, and then if you get the invalid result, then you know that that particular emulator has that deficiency.
Yes.
And so that's what emulator that user must be running on.
yeah, and the very first check I do is actually for 128 kilobyte VRAM mode, because that was something that was discovered years after all those old emulators even finished. So just by detecting that, I can detect if it's a more modern emulator, which is probably going to run, you know, more accurately versus an old one.
Although it was cool, I liked how we found that bug in Pico Drive and RetroArch with
Yeah.
the debug timer.
Yeah. Well, you were the one who I think.
Well, I think
took
they're the
initiative
ones
in
that
that.
people contacted me about it, but I was like,
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on.
But I have been in contact with the various emulation authors, J Genesis, which we love.
Yeah, he's built tools for us and everything. It's awesome.
The author of Pico Drive, which I'm also a big fan of because it's the only emulator I can run that doesn't turn on my CPU fan. and Ares. And we've been in contact with all of them, and we have various bugs have been fixed in his emulators as we continue to find stuff.
So now 32X emulation is more accurate. Yeah.
Does it run on Mister? You guys know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've got a friend that tested on Mister and it does work.
Do you have like a Mr. Detection?
No, I wouldn't know where to begin. I'd probably need to test one to be able to figure that out. But.
When this project finally crosses the finish line, are you considering releasing maybe like files to be able to send to a printer to create like our own repro cards? Like I know there's dubious legality of like distributing that, you know, without the express consent of Sega, but say if someone wanted to create like their own like real like
Yeah, so
32X
I
file.
have, there's files that I've created for a cartridge label. I've designed a cartridge label. And then I'm going to end up creating a box art thing too, because like somebody's already on Etsy, they've got something for sale and they designed the box art and the cartridge label. And I'm like, I know it's going to happen, you can't stop it. I just have the disclaimer on the game itself so that whoever's playing it, I mean, if you want to buy it from somebody that put it together for you, be my guest. You know, it's not my problem. But I would want to send out or supply box art and a cartridge label so that you can then print it yourself and make something if you want to. So.
Do you have a Patreon?
No, I don't. Should I?
You should.
No, I mean, yes.
I'll consider it.
Maybe decoupled from Sonic IP.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, I would support it.
Oh, thank you.
It just saying if you're considering doing like a ultra tier, you know, where you send out, you know,
Okay,
parts to be.
that would be helpful because then it would help justify to my wife why I spend all this time on this.
Exclusive SRB.
Yeah, I have to watch myself in that regard too.
Only so much time, and then you've expired the budget. You're exhausted the budget.
I get distracted too easily, and I start I'm almost got this fixed. Oh, no, let's take them
especially when you're
longer.
chasing like the hardware bugs and stuff.
Oh, yeah, they take forever, and it just seems to go on, and then after a while, it's like, okay, my wife went to bed, I'm still up at 1 a.m. What's wrong with this?
I just read your messages in the morning.
Yes. When I first started early development, was that a PC port? It's like it looks very smooth and also like very high def.
So there's a couple, with the very early versions, I was actually running the full high detail 320 by 180 resolution, and I was drawing the sprites at high resolution as well. So, yeah, I think it was this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you'll see everything looks really great and crisp. The problem is if I ran it this resolution on the hardware today, it would probably be twice as slow as it already is.
Yes, absolutely.
So
I suppose that's why you have the borders too, right? On the top and the bottom.
Yeah,
Similar
so-
to how Doom did to like.
well, not only that, we haven't been able to get it to be any larger vertically. Because on Doom 32X Resurrection, that viewport is moved up to the top of the screen, and then the Doom status bar is down below.
Right.
So we didn't actually cut any extra space from the
Just
viewport, we just centered it. Yeah, we haven't been able to get bigger for some reason, and my guess is that if we did, we wouldn't be happy with the performance, so let's just decorate the top and the bottom with
I like that
borders
they're zone. They look like they're zone specific, right?
Yeah,
I saw some.
yeah, we pick a different flat from each zone to sort of theme it.
Yeah, I thought of that because I used to have the Microsoft Entertainment Packs for Windows, and some of those games would have like a background,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean?
That
I
could be a
just-
higher screen resolution than what the game supported.
Yeah, so the game would still stay in this little window, but the rest of the screen would be this tiled background. So I thought, well, maybe that would work just as well.
Mhm. Yeah.
How was the work distributed across the two SH2s?
For sprite rendering, it splits the sprite in half, and the first processor draws like the left side, and the next processor draws the right side. It does the same for the floors and the ceilings textures. It splits it in half and renders separately. The walls, I think it just does a like a best guess. It doesn't split the wall, but it'll be like, okay, this whole wall is going to be on this CPU, and this whole wall is going to be on this other CPU, and then because there's no overdraw with the way the Doom renders its walls, then there's you don't have to worry about any overlapping between the two CPUs fighting with each other. So that's kind of how, and that's what makes it a lot faster than the commercial 32X Doom too, because they just use one CPU there.
Yeah, the other CPU they used for sound, which is 23 megahertz for these little dinky chips.
A lot of space wasted. Yeah.
Sonic Robo Blast 32X card win.
32X, oh, cart? Well, slopes are kind of a big part of that, so we'd have to crack that nut. The main thing we ran into with the slopes issue, other than the rendering pipeline being completely different, is that the PC version uses floating point math in calculating the rendering for them. So like gameplay-wise, no problem, we could port that code, it would work. So there would have to be a fixed point implementation of it. It should be fixed point on the PC too, but for some reason they don't do it that way. Probably because they just copied from Eternity, which uses a lot of floating point. But yeah, we would probably need that in there first, unless you want to go back to like really early prototype versions of SRP2 cart. I don't know if you've ever seen those on YouTube. It's like pre-slopes, and there's like a lot of stairs. But the problem is on the 32X, the more lines you have, the more walls you have, it really bogs down the render system too. So you can't have the steps all the time to simulate a slope. It'll just die. So, yeah.
There's one curious quirk I noticed. I wasn't sure if it's part of the horizontal half resolution.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the like the sprites have a horizontally squished aspect ratio. I noticed that too when playing the game, the build from last December. I had to change the aspect ratio because everything kind of looked like it was squished this way. Is that just the native pixel aspect ratio being projected to a 4:3 that's causing that, or is that because you had to compress the pixels horizontally?
Were you running it on a widescreen monitor?
So I was running it initially at 4:3 in like RetroArch and also in KGA Fusion, and I noticed that like the Sonic sprite was kind of like when he would jump, it'd be very like oval compared to like circular like it is on the PC version. Some of the
There's a widescreen setting in the game. So
I tried that, yeah.
Okay.
It made the squishing like worse. But no, I wasn't sure if it was just because you had to squish the resolution, if that led to.
I know
That
you just
might
fixed something,
be-
right?
Yeah.
And some of the sprites were like clipped on the side. Like the ring sprites aren't perfectly circular, like they're right
Oh,
sides.
that might be the clipping of the sprites. Like there's like one column of pixels missing. That's a bug in the way we're drawing the sprites.
But that should only apply on the high detail, not the low detail sprites.
Is that the case?
I forget.
thought
I
it was
forget.
all-
I forget if I squished the horizontal resolution of rings or not. I may have. I know I do it for like the animals that pop out. Their horizontal resolution is cut in half, and they're also drawn with the low detail double pixel drawer in Doom. And then the scenery objects and flowers and things like that are too, but I don't think the rings.
I don't remember, but
I guess I'll have to go down and look at it.
I will say that very recently, like within the past couple of years, past week, I noticed, and I should have known this, Doom 32X Resurrection actually stretches the vertical resolution somewhat because the Genesis has 224 and not 200 like the old DOS.
I think that's what I'm probably seeing.
So there's actually a 10% increase, a stretch. And I realized that because I was poking around my code and I thought, oh, I don't think we need that. So I just changed it to 100%. So it should be normal now based on what we have downstairs. So.
Oh, you have a demo?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Go check it out and let me know.
Are you going to have it tomorrow?
Yeah. Tomorrow and Sunday
I'll
too.
check it out.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
You get a ribbon if you play the game.
What's that?
You get a ribbon, a badge ribbon if you play the game.
That one section counts as three small spike balls, and you have to like platform them.
Well, one of the things that we added into the gameplay in Castle Eggman is that you can homing attack the chains that you can grab on and swing around with. So I was thinking if there's certain things in Act 2 that we can't replicate well, I could create a section where you can swing from chain to chain to chain to chain, which is something you wouldn't be able to do in the PC version, and would kind of like add a new sort of gameplay element. So
Isn't that like the end of Eggman 2 in the library isn't that like Knuckles Path or something? There's like a bunch of chains in a giant library up to the goalpost. Am I thinking of 2.2?
Yeah, that's 2.2.
yeah, but it relies on, it assumes that Knuckles, you can jump off and then glide and then hopefully catch
So it was
something.
Knuckles Path. Yeah.
Yeah, so here you're actually going to do is Sonic.
Yeah.
And it should be pretty
That would
easy.
actually be really cool.
So we'll see. All right. Anything else? All right. Well, I know that downstairs they're probably closed up now, but we'll be there tomorrow and Sunday. And we've got 3 32X units set up with some CRTs with our latest build of everything running. We're going to have a public release later this year. I can't say like, oh, it's coming next month, or because it's kind of just depends on how much time we have available to wrap things up.
We have wives.
Yes. That is definitely a factor. So, but we've got it pretty much to where we want, other than I want to include one extra stage. So I think we get that extra stage in there, and I'm pretty happy with where we're at for this release.
Yeah, me too. Chomping at the bit.
This is what the music sounded like without the drums. Oh, that's right. Yeah, this is an older version.
That's an iconic theme. Love it. Who composed it? Was it Shane Stripe, or was it you?
What's that?
Who composed the original Green Flower? Was that you, Shane?
That was David Bowman
Oh yeah, that's
from
right.
the UK. He did the two green flowers, the boss theme, and the title theme. And he was actually involved with the project before I joined.
Yeah, I remember because it was supposed to be a successor to SRB1.
Yeah, and so he started making it in the Games Factory,
Yeah.
and then Dave made the music, and then I joined, I would say, so he started in January of '98, I think, or maybe even February of '98, and then I joined in March. And the whole idea is that I was originally just supposed to do the Sonic sprite and some artwork and stuff, and then we had actually Stealth from Sonic Mania fame. He was working on a fan game engine in DOS, and we were going to build that in DOS instead of the Games Factory. And so that summer, he had, if you search for SRB2 DOS, I think on YouTube, somebody has a recording of it. Yeah, and so now the issue that happened with that is that I think it came to August of that year, he had to move, I think he was moving from California to Alabama or the other way around, I forget what it is. And he just didn't have the time to work on it anymore. So it's like, well, we want to move forward, what do we do? And it's like, well, I've done Doom modding, so we can try doing that. that's where it all got started.
It's kind of a blessing because look at how vibrant the community is now, right? And I
Yeah,
think a lot of that is because of the skeleton that is, Doom mods and
Yeah, and you
massive
can
community.
make your own stuff for it and things. So it was kind of like the original, I don't know, Roblox, for lack of a better term. You can make your own stuff and just feel like you have ownership of it. And I think that really contributes to popularity of a game. So.
How many other fan games can say they've been going strong for a quarter of a century?
I think there's something else out there.
I'm drawing a blank. I'm sure there
I mean,
probably is.
maybe Minecraft?
Minecraft's official.
Well, yeah, but it started out,
yeah,
it's kind of started out like a fan game, it was just some guy built it in Java and he had this online, people could mod it and create servers and stuff. Kind of a similar sort of thing, I guess, in some ways. I don't know.
Technically counts as indie, at least back then.
What's that?
Technically counts as indie, at least back then.
Yeah, okay, so yeah, that wouldn't be fan game.
I mean, it was Infiniminer. That was like the inspiration for it. I don't know if you could call it a fan game though.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
Certainly nothing in Sonic sphere, I would say.
Megamix?
Yeah, nothing that's been that lasting.
Megamix, I mean, that was going on for a few years there, but I don't think that's been worked in probably over a decade.
I mean, technically the Megamix Mania team, but I don't know if it was the same. It's got shipped to pieces type of situation now.
Isn't there like a version of Megamix that stole the code or something for the Sega CD?
Oh god.
There's always controversy around that.
See,
It's never end.
Stealth was here last year, so that would have been a good opportunity to ask him.
Wait, Stealth made Megamix?
Yeah.
He worked on it with Tweaker, and I don't remember.
I think
who
he
else.
wrote the Sega CD code.
He did. He did. I was always under the impression that Tweaker started it. I could be wrong, but Stealth, yeah, I know that he had a big role in that. Definitely with the Sega CD code for sure.
Do you guys know any of the people who made Sonic 2 XL?
No.
Oh, okay.
mean,
I don't
you
even
might.
know what Sonic 2 XL is.
You don't want to know.
The more rings you collect, the fatter Sonic gets. It's
Oh,
like
that's
that.
right. Oh gosh, that's old.
They came
Yeah.
up in the forefront of my mind because of an Antude video.
We got Sonic cartridge of that downstairs.
That was.
There was?
Yeah, there is.
I was
It's
looking
still-
for one. I was trying to find a repro card of that.
It's still downstairs this afternoon.
Jeez, I wonder what the box art is like.
In the C engine build, Act 4 of each level is labeled
Check a
as a
booth
cutscene.
nearby
Is
the
that where
retro
the
TVs.
The C engine build?
Well, I mean, it might be a
self-engine
bit too late now because I
for
can't go
SRB2?
Self-engine.
Tomorrow.
The
I
stealth,
can't go tomorrow.
the one stealth-made
Oh.
DOS.
Oh, the DOS. Okay.
Yeah, I just call it like the C build, the stealth build. Act 4 of each level is labeled as a cutscene in the level select. Is that where the cutscenes you upload on your channel are meant to be used?
Mhm.
Ah.
Yeah, that's what those are originally intended for. Yeah, we were originally going to have animated cutscenes, and I made a couple of them. I guess they're impressive for 1999, but you know.
Yeah, you were really big into that animation stuff back then.
Yeah, I had Autodesk Animator Studio for Windows
And you had
3.1.
Pokemon Soccer, right?
Yeah, that was one of them, the Pocket Labs. SRBX was actually supposed to be a sequel to a Pocket Labs. So it wasn't going to be just SRB stuff. It was going to be like a SRB adjacent, like it's going to have elements from SRB2 in it, but it was actually going to star my fan characters and my friends' fan characters as the protagonists in the game. So, and then like just weird like multiverse type stuff going on. So, but way too ambitious. I do have there's a kid in Chile finishing one of my cartoons right now. So stay tuned for that. He's finishing the second half of a Pocket Labs.
Finally.
Yeah.
We've been waiting. We've also been waiting over a decade for this.
So I asked him to send me what he's got so far, and we're going to build a little trailer here soon and hopefully get it up. So.
What about the voice acting for that video?
So I brought back the original cast.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the original cast from 1999 is coming back. I even got my sister to do a couple lines. She did Abby. And what's funny is that, you know, Dave Ballmer and Abby were dating at the time I made the original cartoons. They're married now. So they actually stuck together that whole time. That's cool. Yep.
Yeah.
That line is etched into my mind, and I don't know why.
So you've got all the sound files.
I just heard it when you sent it in 20 years ago, server.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for coming, everybody. Any more? Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Just real quick, what are your thoughts on the cart mod in general? Because it kind of gave the SRB2 like a second wave, right? I wasn't really there for it.
I really like Kart. It's a very good like pick up and play game, kind of like Mario Kart. Well, I mean, why else would you call it the same thing essentially? But Sonic themed. Yeah, and I know that Robotnik Ring Racers is out now, so if you've like mastered Kart and you're still hungry for more, that's kind of the way to go. But I've heard you shouldn't start there. Maybe start with Kart first and move up. I haven't tried it yet because I was hoping to kind of like to give them time to iron out the bugs, maybe adjust the gameplay and things before I gave it a shot. And then it fell off my radar. So maybe I'll have to download it here pretty soon and see how well I can do.
Pretty good game.
Yeah.
They actually just like yesterday or something, they released 2.4 release candidate 1.
Oh, okay.
First one in like a year.
So maybe it's time to try it then.
And the current public release version, 2.3, actually smooths out some of the rough edges from launch.
I survived pre-patch Ring Racers tutorial.
Oh god.
Yeah, I've heard that's a survival.
Horrid.
Did it stop recording?
So glad
It's still recording. Go with the time limit.
Okay.
I think it was a good thing we were at the last panel of the day.
Yeah.
Oh, so if you guys are interested in a little bit more of the Genesis type discussion, Saxman, he's doing a panel tomorrow on FM synthesis. And so you're
Also the last panel today.
Yeah, also the last panel today. So you're going to take some FM sounds and load them into a Genesis ROM or playback.
Yeah, I'm well, part of it I'm just kind of winging it, but the gist of it is, yes, I'm going to load some sounds into a real synthesizer. And then I'm also going to do the reverse and put those synthesizer sounds into a Genesis game. And it's probably going to be Sonic 2 because I wrote the tools to do that, so that's just easy.
Did you bring a real DX7?
No, I brought a TX81Z.
I wasn't sure if you were going to bring it this time or not.
I decided to because
you can finish what you were saying. I was gonna add.
I didn't really have.
I was gonna ask because you mentioned the tool about putting the actual synthesis into Sonic 2. Were you the one who did that Sonic 2 MP3 thing where you needed to use gens?
No, the name Q Gembo comes to mind. I don't know if I'm right on that.
It was him.
It was him?
Yep.
Okay.
That's the only reason I still have gens on my computer.
So you can play MP3s on it?
Yes. You can have like running in the 90s as Emerald Hill.
Yeah, that was a neat thing he did.
Does it have to be like a 16 kilobit per second MP3 or?
I just used YouTube to MP3 and it worked.
Special guns.
Yeah, like it's a specific version of gens that.
Oh, I see. So it's almost like
it's
a hack of it hacks it works around the emulator somehow to get the CPU to just run an MP3.
It's also very allergic to mapping the controls.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh, the game I was thinking of before was Ultraman on the Saturn. Like that was a game that runs primarily on the cartridge, I think.
Okay, Ultraman.
No idea why, but it's like the only game that does.
Does it come with a cartridge and a CD? Is it?
It comes with a cartridge, probably also a CD. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I know there. From what I've read about it, because I never owned any Saturn cartridges. I had a Saturn, but they were all discs. But there are, I guess, kind of like how 32X Resurrection relies on cartridge, in that there are assets that are just too daggone big and too numerous to keep on a disk to have to read off of and to store into to RAM. So if you have the cartridge, it can stream those assets off of it. So that's my understanding of it. But very rarely used feature.
It's a CD, but it needs to, Ultraman needs the RAM card to play. So if you use like the action replay to allow your US NTSC system to play the game because it's Japanese.
So it preloads everything off the disk into the RAM card and then.
I think that's how it works. But you can't, unless you like hard mod your Saturn, you can't play it and use like the action replay at the same time. You have to choose one or the other. So you basically have to have a Saturn in Japan to be able to play it. But it does require the RAM card, which is kind of wild.
But Vic from Doom 32X Resurrection, he was working on a RAM card for the 32X as well. So, but so far he's hit a dead end because I guess it worked on the Genesis side. You're able to write to the cartridge fine, and then you can read back data. But if you try to do it with the 32X, you try to read back the data and you just get garbage.
Oh.
So that's kind of where he got stuck. Because he was hoping that he could develop a RAM card and then just keep the entire game on a CD and then just preload stuff, essentially the way the Saturn.
So he's basically just inventing a Saturn in a cave, like
yeah. A Saturn with less RAM.
Budget Saturn.
We have Saturn at home.
I mean, that's essentially the way Sega marketed the 32X is, we have a Saturn at home. You don't need to buy it brand new units. Alrighty. Thanks for coming, everybody. How do we do that?
I'll see you tomorrow.
I'll let you.
Get you warm, get you some food.
Oh,
I'm hungry too.
I wanted to say sorry if I overlapped.
Oh, no, you're.
Initially.
What? You're never to stay with Tom. We're about to actually meet you.